It's wherever you want. Thank you very much, Steffi, and I would like to welcome my panelists here. So first, I would like to ask some questions about international politics, since we are, as Steffi also mentioned, we are a very international panel. And I would like to start with geopolitics. So what do you think, what did the new Trump administration change? How did the new Trump administration change the political situation in the world? What are the new tendencies and what are his first results in international politics? Please, Ambassador Sands, if you would start.
Thanks, Levente. So President Trump has recently said, and you may have seen it in social media or in the old media, that if you're censoring Americans or American companies, you may not have a visa and come in the US. So that's a big push toward free speech. We are protecting free speech, and President Trump's administration is very active in that. He's also working to right the trade. He wants fair trade. He likes the golden rule. Treat others like you want to be treated. And so that's another push. He's working to get fair trade with reciprocal trade deals. The reciprocity is important to him. We can see the UK trade deal is done, and now he's working with other countries, India, the EU, and South Korea, Japan, just to name a few. But that's very important to us. We want more trade, but we want also for the US industries to benefit.
Please, Mr. Madhav.
Thank you. Let me begin by thanking CPAC for including an Indian in this panel.
It's our honor. Thank you for being here.
Let me mention that, incidentally, I'm the only non-Westerner in this whole 2-day conference here. It has two messages for you all. One, of course, the positive side, you have friends outside of Europe, in India, elsewhere. But the two and most important message for you is, while the liberals are all over, they have their fellow travelers in my country, my neighborhood, everywhere in the world. Conservatives have confined their politics to Europe and the Americas. You have to come out, you have many friends outside of your Europe and your Americas. I'm one of those friends that you can rely upon. That brings me to that important question that you raised. We from India see the challenges to be much more serious and intricate. Politics is one part, trade is one part. I agree with Madam Carla that, on trade probably we have to negotiate more with President Trump also and see where we each meet the other. But the bigger challenge is the principles for which we are all standing up. The principles for which the conservatives stand up. The principles, maybe I don't call myself a conservative because this debate of conservatism and liberalism is slightly out of place in Indian context. But I call myself a cultural nationalist. As a cultural nationalist, all the values that you stand for, whether it is about God, it's about religion, it's about family, it's about nation, sovereignty, patriotism, we are with you. But these are the principles that need to be protected today. That's where we all need to come together. I would say there cannot be a better time for conservatives than this. You have a Trump in USA, you have a Netanyahu in Israel, you have a Meloni in Italy, you have, Mr. Orban here as Prime Minister. There cannot be a better time to fight back these forces. But please remember, you need to also have more friends, fellow travelers, like we in India. Humble submission I make when I say India. India joining this fight for values, not politics, our politics are different. For values means you have 2 Europes joining you, 4 Americas joining you, 140 Hungarys joining you. That's the strength you draw the moment you expand this scope of your engagement. We all have to fight because the world has entered a very difficult phase, tech world, but more important, it is a heteropolar world. People talk about multipolar world. This is the last 30-second point I'm making. The heteropolar world. Sometimes I come here, then I ask the leadership here, what is the biggest threat to Hungary? They don't say EU. They say it is George Soros. No, George Soros is not a government. George Soros is not a prime minister. George Soros is an NGO, but he is a threat to sovereign nations. You ask me in India, I will say George Soros plus jihadi terror. These are heteropolar forces that are at play. We all have to come together to defeat them. We are there as fellow travelers with you. Thank you.
If I could just reflect on what Ram just said and just encourage all of you in this room and watching online. The left is so organized. They've really got this globalist lock on so much of the world. There are countries that are rejecting it, but we can see it, and it's affecting all of our lives. President Trump's administration has rejected that, but if the conservatives can come together and organize, but not just organize, but make a mandate, and then not just make a mandate, but fulfill it, so that we counter, and don't just counter, but win, so that national sovereignty wins, so that independence for the human body, each person's sovereign space wins, so that the left does not and the globalists do not win. We have to win. It's not negotiable. And so how do we do that? We do that by working together. So connecting, like you were talking about, but making the outcomes that we can actually achieve so that we win and they lose.
Great.
Thank you, Ambassador. I just want to say to you, I agree with everything you said, but India should leave BRICS and join the West, join democracy. You belong with the West. Look, I want to thank all of you for being, it's so great. This is not my first CPACHungary, and it's so great to see you do so well. To answer your question, Trump is really going to change foreign policy. He's laid down a challenge. So far, historians always ask the question of every president, what foreign policy mold does he fit? Is he a Jeffersonian, a Jacksonian, or a Wilsonian? I think perhaps in the near future, people are also going to ask whether a president is Trumpian, because he is really changing everything. One way here, and I'll be very brief because I think a lot of time has been taken up already, one thing that has set off an earthquake has been J.D. Vance's speech. Vice President J.D. Vance's speech has realigned, has said, look, there are challenges from China and Russia, and I believe there are. These are adversaries of Western values, but the big danger to Europe right now comes from within. And the chattering classes here in Europe just got very angry at J.D. Vance. Even when they speak with us, they vent their frustration, and yet with everything they do, they demonstrate that J.D. Vance was 100% right. That what you're doing in Germany, what you're doing in France, what you're doing in Portugal, you have a situation here that you have three countries at least, Austria, Germany, and Portugal, where the right and the center-right could have a comfortable majorities in parliament, and yet they don't because of this very dumb cordon sanitaire, this firewall, which is only for the right. If you look at the government in Spain, you have a government that is socialist, communist, separatist, and terrorist. So they don't have a firewall, but they have invented one for you. And I think conservatives are very naive to accept this. And the other thing that he has changed is that he is going to really revolutionize relationship with Latin America. One of the reasons for that is because of China's threat in Latin America. Just this morning, I received a letter of the Chinese government inviting Latin American parliamentarians to come to Beijing, all expenses paid. We have now three top people, Secretary Rubio, we have Chris Landau, and we have Mauricio Claver-Caron at the very top of the State Department, all of whom speak Spanish, all of whom understand Latin America. So I think for the first time, perhaps ever, we have at the very top of the State Department a cupola that really gets it and is going to change relations. And I think Rubio, for example, has been very forthright with Venezuela. So I think what you're seeing, I want to, maybe we'll get into the networking part that Ambassador Sands referred to is very important as well, but I want to throw it back to you because I don't want to monopolize.
Yes, I will have some individual questions to you as well, and I would just like to reiterate your comments about J.D. Vance's speech in Munich. It was really huge, and it went really well in Hungary, so we really thought it was a historic speech. So Ambassador Sands, you were ambassador to Denmark, and now we hear a lot about these Danish-US relations, about Greenland. Could you please explain us shortly about this conflict, or whatever you would name that? What is the US strategy here?
Sure. Thank you for the question, Levente. And I just, we understand that the U.S. foreign policy under President Trump is America first, but not America alone. We need our friends and allies, all of them. And I'm the brand new chair of AFPI's America First foreign policy initiative. So we're working on building those bridges. But Greenland and Denmark, this is a really tough thing. When I was ambassador from 2017 to 2021, Greenland was largely vulnerable to China with economic predation. They flew over the premier and his government and top CEOs to Beijing, rolled out the red carpet, had the C-suite meetings. They tried to pull them into the Belt and Road Initiative that China has used to enslave other countries, like Mike was just talking about in South and Central America, for instance. So we worked to stop it. But China still has economic interest in Greenland because of its geostrategic location. It's part of North America, even though Greenland's part of the Kingdom of Denmark. And Denmark's a small country with an economy about the size of the state of Colorado. They can't afford to defend Greenland. They've never been able to defend it, especially not now in a more dangerous world. They can't afford to develop it, and they've never shown any interest in doing so. So here's Greenland, vulnerable to outside. Russian ships go around. We've read it in the news. Sometimes they cut those undersea cables. We have China. And President Trump says we're not going to let our neighbor be taken over by a foreign power because they're vulnerable. So President Trump looks at Greenland and says for national security and international security, especially for Europe and the US, we need to make sure that Greenland is secure. There's really two nations that can secure and develop Greenland, is China and the US. And Greenland has recently said in the newspapers, the Financial Times, that they're going to look to China if the EU and US don't develop it. And I will tell you, the Greenlanders said to my face, money has no color. We don't care. We just want investment. We want prosperity. And it's the same every country. You want good paying jobs. People want to grow. They want to have that dream for their own country. So President Trump has the right idea. I don't get ahead of the president and how he's going to handle this, but I will say that one idea is a COFA. It's like a free association. So perhaps Greenland will be an independent nation in the future, but have a trade and security agreement with the US. So they're fully in charge of their country. They make their own laws. But we would do trade and have it backstopped by the US government, and then we would secure them against foreign adversaries. One idea, Levente.
Thank you very much. Mr. Madhav, India is a surging power. Could you please describe again, briefly please, the geopolitical strategy of India?
Okay, strategy is never discussed in public. On a later note, sorry. But friends, yes, India has arrived. So that also has an important message to the entire world. To your point, whether India should be there in the BRICS or not, should be left to India, because India is committed to certain principles that are very dear to all of you. Wherever we are, we stand up for those principles. We are there in one group, we are there to protect those principles. Those principles include siding with the democracies, not allowing any group to become anti-something. We are there in BRICS to ensure that BRICS does not become an agency for de-dollarization. It doesn't become an agency for anti-America agenda. We are there. But then our BRICS friends tell us, why are you there in Quad? Why don't you come out of Quad? We tell them the same thing. We are in Quad because we are a part of the most happening region, and we four countries, India, USA, Japan, and Australia, are committed to maintaining peace, freedom in the region. That's why we are there. So countries of India's size no longer can be dictated, friends. They have to be cultivated. We are here to work with all the democratic forces, all those forces that are committed to conservative values. When I say conservative, as I said, when I say that as a cultural nationalist, I am committed to protecting pluralism. I am committed to, supporting environmental causes. You may say that, sir, the language that you are talking is very liberal. But in my part of the world, there are certain areas where probably we don't too much go against those values. So we have to work together. India is an important power. India wants to play an important role in the world today, and that role will be in line with what you are all talking today, what you are all standing up. India will be a major bulwark against the left liberal forces in the world. We are ready to work with all of you. We are a major bulwark against the wokeism. This whole nonsensical gender debate that's happening. By the way, let me end by telling you the experience in India. In 1947, we became independent. For the first 3-4 decades, we were also victims of the liberal agendas. Our constitution, even today, calls us a socialist republic. We are anything but socialist. But still, the liberals have succeeded in making it a permanent feature of our constitution. We can't even remove it. That's how the liberals work. But today we decimated them in India. Those forces, the left liberals, are pushed to the fringes. It is the cultural nationalist agenda that dominates India. We are ready to work with all the forces that share our thought process. That includes, as I said, we are against illegal infiltration. We made sure no infiltration happens in India. We punish jihadi terrorists. We put them either in jails or send them to 72, beautiful people that are somewhere else. So we are very firm in those areas. We are ready to work with us. But India is a big country. India needs to have its strategic autonomy when it comes to deciding about what needs to be done in the given situation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gonzalez, you developed this expression of geo-networking. Could you please explain us what does it mean and what is new under Donald Trump regarding this issue?
Sure, in the short time that I have.
Yeah.
I'll amend my remarks, Ram. It sounds like you're doing great inside BRICS. Stay there if that is what you're doing. Look, one of the things that Trump has changed is what I call geo-networking, and CPAC is a great example of this. The left has always had I think Carla referred to this, the left has always had an advantage with international networking. Marx was all about no states, workers of the world unite. The Jacobins believed in universalizing the revolution. We conservatives want to conserve local norms and traditions, which means that what a conservative in Texas wants to conserve may be different from what a conservative in Portugal wants to conserve. We had great disagreements with Chirac. De Gaulle, a conservative, did not like the United States, and so forth. But now we're faced with a common enemy. We're faced with this enemy that wants to destroy identity, that wants to open borders, and it will do this through racial theories, it will do this through sexual theories, it will do this through climate hysteria. It's all about describing capitalism as wasteful and destructive of the environment, as people who don't like capitalism, the greatest engine of wealth that man has ever created. So we can then unite, and I think CPAC is a great example of this. National Conservatives is another group that I speak to often. It's a great example of this. Foro Madrid, Vox in Spain has done a great job, and all of it has more or less happened at the same time. Vox is created in 2013. Donald Trump comes down the escalator in 2015. And all of these forces rise, and now we're meeting internationally like we are here. We have a great ways to go still, but this is a great sign, and this is something that is new, that is happening, and we need to do more of. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that you consider our short time, which is, I think, a shame, because it would be much more interesting if we could continue this discussion. But now I thank you for your participation, and thank you for your attention in the audience. Thank you.